Is astrology evil? Is it inspired by the devil? Is this occult art and science halal? And is astrology linked with demons, or worse, Lucifer himself? Let's find out. Hello there, beautiful souls. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Fatih and I'm a holistic astrologer, and my purpose in this Living Simply channel is to bring you cosmic wisdom for daily life. If you like spirituality, astrology, esotericism, and all things self-development, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join this ever-growing community. You can also like and comment so that my content reaches more seekers like you and I. So for those of you who know me, I grew up in Morocco, which is a mostly Muslim country, and I have always loved religions. Like from the day I was a child, I loved looking at other religions, other cultures. That was something that fascinates me. So looking at other scriptures and texts from other cultures, and especially Abrahamic religions, astrology and magic in general were always things that were, frowned upon. They were equated with sin, with evil, and I never, of course, fully believed that to be true, because I always had this hunch, this idea, this insight. Even as a child, I had the knowing that people, the way they interpret the religions is way too basic, way too surface level. It did concern me though at some point when I saw that, okay, well, religion hates astrology. It is always portrayed under a negative light, magic and astrology. But also science seems to also hate astrology and magic. Like, what the fuck is going on? Is this something that all the spectrum hates? And as a free spirit, as a maverick, as a black sheep within my family, as a rebel myself, it fascinated me even more. So it pushed me to learn as much as I can so that I can have the full picture and know, okay, that's why. That's where the misunderstanding comes from. But anyways, in order to answer the question, is astrology a sin? Is astrology evil? I want to make a two-part video series in which I will explain myself in the most objective way I can, giving you information. And I will start with the negative or more negative sides to astrology in how it's viewed in monotheistic religions, especially in the Bible and in the Quran, so in Christianism and Islam. First, quick reminder, what is astrology? Astrology is an ancient Babylonian practice, and it has been around for centuries. But astrology itself is a type of divination that involves the forecasting of earthly or human events through the observation or interpretation, it's the better word, of the movement of the stars. This is looking at the outside world and correlating things, going back and forth between the macrocosm and the microcosm, because in astrology we believe in the axiom as above so below. Whatever is going on in the stars is a reflection of what's going on within us as human beings, in our human hearts and psyche. So gentle reminder, but much necessary, I believe, astrology is not a religion. It is a study of self through the learning of the universe, through science, through seasons, through certain mathematical placements. Now let's unpack the scriptures in which astrology is viewed as something bad. If you type astrology Bible or astrology Islam, the first pages will likely be something that says, oh, astrology is not just a sin, it is demonic, it is pagan, it is horrible. That's like basically everything that you're going to be hearing from those Google pages. And this actually picked up, like this hate, this view that astrology is demonic, picked up during the Catholic period when Augustine of Hippo if I remember his name correctly, denounced astrology. And in fact, in the Old Testament, like we're speaking about the Bible now, it is said that many occult arts are prohibited, like lot casting and necromancy, but astrology has never been mentioned. It's only later on that astrology has become troublesome in itself. So many Bible verses speak against horoscopes and the divination that astrology is linked with. Here's a few examples. In Leviticus, it is said, "Do not practice divination or sorcery." When the Israelites were about to enter the promised land of Canaan, I don't know how to say it in English, but it's Canaan, God warned them not to practice astrology. So it says, "Do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. The nations you will dispossess, listen to those who practice sorcery or divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do so." In Isaiah, it is also said, "All the counsel you have received has only worn you out. Let your astrologers come forward, those stargazers who make predictions month by month. Let them save you from what is coming upon you. Surely they are like stubble. The fire will burn them up. They cannot even save themselves from the flame. Each of them goes on in his error. There is not one that can save you." In the Deuteronomy, it is said, "There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord." Before I give you my perspective on the quotes and scriptures that we have just looked at and that I shared with you, I want you to take a look at what Islam says about astrology, because at the end of the day, as untrue and biased as the astrology's syntrope is, it is still something that's very much engraved in some of the believers' minds, and it is not so different in other religions. Like what we just heard in the Bible is something that you can find in Islam as well. So similarly to Christianism, if you ask your basic Muslim or your basic Islamic branch out there, he or she or it will probably tell you that astrology is a sin. It is haram. Haram means forbidden in Islam. And amongst the quotes and scriptures used to justify this position, let me give you a list. In Surah Ma'idah, it is said, "Forbidden also is the use of arrows, seeking luck or decision. All that is disobedience of Allah and sin." In Surah Luqman, it is said, "Lo, Allah, with him is knowledge of the hour. He sends down the rain and knows that which is in the wombs. No soul knows what it will earn tomorrow, and no soul knows in what land it will die. Lo, Allah is nowhere aware." And narrated by Abu Dawood, it is suggested that the Prophet Muhammad stated, "Whoever seeks knowledge from the stars is seeking one of the branches of witchcraft, that of which is inherently forbidden in Islam." Prophet's companion Ali actually was extremely against the practice, and in one of his famous quotes he says, "O people, beware of learning the science of stars, except that with which guidance is sought on land or sea, because it leads to divining, and an astrologer is a diviner, while the diviner is like the sorcerer is like the unbeliever, and the unbeliever would be in hell." So long story short, whenever it's the Bible or the Quran, our ancestor had a really vivid opinion on astrology. Yes, the number one thing that makes all occult knowledge, such as astrology, become something that can be viewed as wrong, as evil, as not good for us as human beings, is when the trust that is supposed to befall God and only Him happens to land in the hands of the psychics, of the fortune tellers, in the mediums and whatnot, and where we become so enamored with the stars that we listen to their every whisper, we fear every movement that they make. The moment that you forget that astrology is made by God, you are in idolatry territory. You know, you're like in murky, uncharted grounds. And in my own understanding, the celestial bodies, their movements, the patterns, the cycles, the ebbs and flows of your birth chart, all of these are signs and wonders related to the power of the demiurge or the creator, Allah. They are not speaking against his power. The cosmos is not telling us to believe in the cosmos. The cosmos is here to tell us, look, this is what God made. This is his almightiness and all his power, showing you how ingenious he can be. It can be. And these things, they cannot take away from his power. They are from him. They will always be, and they are the expression of a side of him. So no matter what the transits are saying, what they're doing in the sky, it is always God's will that will have the last word. It is God's will. The stars are God's will playing out. And there is indeed, I have to say it, there is indeed a great temptation with astrology. To support my claims, here's a couple quotes for you before I move on. In the Deuteronomy, it is said, "Do not gaze towards the heavens and observe the sun, the moon, the stars, the entire area of the sky, with the intent to worship and serve what the Lord your God gave every nation." As you can see, he said, do not look at these things if you are about to worship them. It is very clear here. For me, it can't get any clearer than this. It is also said, "And beware lest you raise your eyes to heaven, and when you see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the host of heaven, you be drawn away and bow down to them and serve them. Things that the Lord your God has affloated to all the people under the whole heaven." It is very clear here, guys. You see my point. But just to go a little further, here's another text in Jeremiah 8:2, and it says, "And they shall be spread before the sun and the moon and all the host of the heaven, which they have loved and served, which they have gone after, and which they have sought and worshipped. And they shall not be gathered or buried, they shall be as dung on the surface of the ground." And when they speak of the starry host, they're speaking of the planetary gods and goddesses, as well as the planetary intelligences. This is something that has been mentioned as an example in Agrippa's famous 3 books of occult philosophy. This is also something that you see in Hermeticism and so many other traditions. But there is this belief that there are deities, demons, daimons, spirits, archangels, angels, that are linked with the stars, with the constellations, with deacons, with planets, even asteroids and comets, everything actually that is living under the sky, everything that God or consciousness has created has a soul. Therefore, it has a purpose and it has an energy, and you could invoke that energy. And in my practice of both magic and astrology, I do believe that there is cosmic intelligences working up there and maintaining the cosmic order of the universe, but I do not think that they are deities in the traditional meaning of the term. They're not gods, they are agents of God as a monotheistic, singular oneness energy. And the role of these so-called gods or goddesses is to fulfill his will. There are aspects of him. And because some people mistake these entities or aspects of God for individual gods, many could fall prey to idolatry. So let me remind you of this. In any way, is God condemning astrology in the Bible or in Islam? Yes, I will say it again. I will repeat, so listen well. God does not condemn astrology. He is condemning worshipping false gods and idols. I will give you another quote. "I will stretch out my hand against Judah and against all who live in Jerusalem. I will destroy every remnant of Baal worship in this place, the very names of the idolatrous priests, those who bow down on the roofs to worship the starry host. In James it is said, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. Another one in Isaiah says, when someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? When you look at the weather forecast as an example, the same can be applied. You are not trying to force the universe to stop raining or to stop having a sunny day. You are not trying to manipulate the outcome. You are just seeking information that can help you either get a raincoat if it's a rainy forecast, or I don't know, put an outfit that suits the weather. You can also just go about your day as if nothing has happened, as if you've never heard this information, but the weather gave you insights. You're not going to be surprised when you're going to start seeing, all hell loose breaking from the sky. When the rain is going to start pouring, you're going to know that that's something that might happen for you in the day. And guess what? Sometimes, although my weather app says it is going to rain at 5 p.m., it doesn't. And it's completely okay. At least I had that information. At least I had that info in my tool belt to make the wisest decision for how I'm going to go about my day. So in a way, that's the importance of astrology. It's helping you make better decisions, not scaring you or tricking you into having blind faith in a predictive tool. Because all predictions should aim towards, this is my opinion on it, empowering you. This is the purpose of a prediction. It should empower you and empower your faith. It should not strip you of your free will. It should not feed your ego, or I don't know, make you feel like you're safe from the troubles of God, or the will of God, or the will of the universe, however you want to call it. Trust that God's will, if you are not willing to accept it, to let go of your expectations, it is always going to circle back at you. It's like the story, there's a story, I think in Islam, that says there's a man who was told in a dream that he was about to die. So he packed his bags and traveled to India or some very, very far away place. And at the end of the day, an angel, the angel of death, came to him, Azrael, and he came to him and told him, oh, you're here. And he was surprised to see this angel of death, and he asked him, and the angel of death told him, I was told that you are going to be here this time of the day, and that's where I was meant to collect you, to collect your soul in a way. And this story has always deeply, impacted me as a child when I heard it. It is really beautiful if you think of it. No matter how hard you try to run or to, escape your destiny, your fate, should I say, it is always going to come back at you. And by running away from something, you're sometimes falling right into its lap. Even astrologically speaking, you can choose your destiny, but you can never change your faith. And oh boy, have many people tried and failed miserably in the astrological community. But the way you live these experiences, the happiness that you have as you go through trials, the amount of contentment you have, no matter what's happening around you, the surrender, the acceptance, the radical self-love that you cultivate along the journey, that's what makes the biggest difference. So this is actually a very, very philosophical debate within the astrological and spiritual community, one that I would actually love to dedicate an entire video to in the future. Fate and destiny in astrology, because the two are different and people use these terms interchangeably, but fate is not destiny and destiny is not fate. You are in control of your destiny, but not your fate. And astrology can help you make better decisions in terms of your destiny, but your fate is something completely different. As you can see, this is the number one reason why religions prefer to say, yeah, don't do that to people in terms of magic and astrology, because it is something that could be misused, and that is misused in 80% of the cases. And truth be told, it is easy to misuse great information. Just like physics and science can help us save lives or drop nuclear bombs, it's like one or the other depending on what you choose to do with it. You should not feel like you are immune to fated events just because you can see them. And of course it raises the question, if the universe could tell you when you would die, would you want to know, and should you know? That's the real question with astrology. Because the reason why it is prohibited or called forbidden, or not really forbidden but prohibited by most religions, is because a lot of people don't have a moral compass. As an example, as an astrologer, even if I could know when certain people are going to die, when I am going to die, I would rather not seek that information. I would rather look the other way. Not because I am afraid, but because I know that information, although I can get it, doesn't mean I should. That's a very, 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 very important thing. When you're starting in your astrological journey, and even in your magical journey, this applies even more so to magic, but since I'm speaking about astrology today, this is what I'm talking about. There are techniques that can help you do very incredible things. There are some remediations, there are some even some sigils, some stuff that you can do with the information encoded in your birth chart that can literally manifest miracles for you. But should you do those things? That's up to you. That's the power that you have within your hands, and you should be wise enough to use it or not in the right way.